So the equalities here will have the disposable income will equal to consumption plus saving plus taxes. So for Y, it's household budget, and the planned expenditure or the aggregate expenditure is equal to consumption plus investment. The equilibrium will happen at the point where the aggregate expenditure or the planned expenditure أو الإنفاق المخطط ليه يساوي الhousehold budget. In this equilibrium, if we have the equalities A, E equal to Y, this means that we have consumption plus saving plus taxes will equal to so we have consumption plus saving plus taxes will equal to consumption plus investment. Only at this part, we only have in this expenditure, we only have consumption and investment. And for sure, we can exclude it or just immunize the consumption with consumption from the both sides. This means that we have saving plus taxes is equal to investment. And in this section, we have assuming that taxes is equal to 0. This means that saving will equal to investment. So in order to obtain the equilibrium, saving must equal to investment. So we have equality 1, consumption plus saving equal to income, then consumption plus investment is equal to aggregate expenditure, then aggregate expenditure must equal to Y, so saving must equal to investment. As we see in the graph, we can get the relationship between expenditure and aggregate income. Here we have the consumption function by this line. Here is the consumption plus investment. And we are assuming these numbers. We have investment of 100, we have consumption of 2,300, we have a Y income 2,400, and we have a saving of 100. Sure, when we have a consumption plus saving, we can get the household budget or the income. And we have a fixed amount of investment which equal to 100. So as we see in the next graph, we here have consumption plus investment. Here we have a less amount than the last amount. In last one, we have an equilibrium at 2,400 where consumption plus investment is equal to Y. In this part, we have a saving equal to investment to get the equilibrium. So we have adjustment to the equilibrium to the negative C and negative Y. Negative C and negative S. Here we will have a negative S because we have autonomous saving, negative amount, consumption, we have a positive amount for the autonomous consumption, and we have the two equations for saving function and consumption function, and we will know how we can obtain these equations. Then here it's a change in investment. We have a change in investment of 50. So there is an increase in the expenditure from 600 to 650. We have aggregate expenditure, which is equal to consumption plus investment. And here we have a saving gap, a positive saving gap. while the consumption is equal to 600 plus 0.75. This means that we have a marginal propensity to consume equal to 0.75, and we have a autonomous consumption equal to 600. So here we have two cases. We have here Y is larger than aggregate expenditure, actual inventories exceeding the planned inventories, which will mean that I must have inventory. So because we have actual inventory is equal to planned plus a positive change in inventory. While when we'll have a Y larger than aggregate expenditure, here output is too high. This means that firms will produce more than consumers and firms want to buy. So the total production is larger than the total sales, which means that we have accumulation of inventories, which means that actual inventories exceeding the planned inventories. So firms will cut back on production. While the opposite case, when we have the aggregate expenditure is larger than the budget, here we have actual inventories is less than planned inventories. Actual inventories is less than planned inventories because here we want to produce more. Because firms produce less than consumers and firms want to buy, here inventories decline. Actual inventories are less than planned inventories. Firms will increase on production. Here we have actual inventories is equal to planned inventories. Aggregate expenditure is equal to aggregate income. This is a point of equilibrium. This is a point where aggregate expenditure is equal to consumption plus investment equal to aggregate income. For Y, this is where planned inventories is equal to actual inventories. And here we have a great approach, and this figure represents a summary for the whole section. Here we have the financial market, its type of markets, and we have a household, firms. Household is doing consumption and saving, and firms is doing investment, and it has only investment and saving. And in this, we have two part of equation. We have aggregate income, which goes to household, and we have aggregate expenditure, which the household and firms both do. So here, aggregate income must equal to aggregate expenditure. Here is a point of equilibrium. So now we want to know how this equation we can reach to this final stage. The equilibrium is consumption plus investment because we have a Y is equal to consumption plus investment, which means that Y here must equal to 500 plus 50 plus 0.75Y. At this point, the income or the aggregate income was 2,200. If you have the both two equations, we can know what is Y here. Y here is equal to 2,200. But I had an increase in investment, which is became 60. So here we have the same equation. we had only difference here that we have investment of 60 and we have consumption 500 plus 0.75. We have an equilibrium point where y is equal to 2,240. Actually, the investment only increased by 10, but the aggregate income increased by 40, which means that 4 times the increasement in investment, which will have a concept of multiplier. Multiplier is equal to 1 divided by the marginal propensity to save, or 1 divided by the marginal 1 minus marginal propensity to consume. So it's very important to know the concept of multiplier. The multiplier here is the increasement of income increased because the initial increase in planned investment. So here, if we want to get the equality, we can have the consumption plus investment, which equal to 500 plus 0.75y plus 60, which will have 560 plus 0.75y. And we know that C plus I is equal to Y. So 560 plus 0.75y equal Y. So when we get this amount to the right-hand side, we have 560 plus 0.75y minus 0.75y from the both sides. So we have 560 equal to 0.25y. So we have 560 divided by 0.25. So here y is equal to 2,240. So we have an increase in investment by 10, an increase in income happened by 40, which means that we have the multiplier, which is equal to 4. As we had the multiplier here is 1 over the marginal propensity to save, or 1 over 1 minus MBC. Here the investment is 60. We have an increasement by this amount in the Y. So by an increasement in investment by 10, we have an increasement in income by 40. And this comes to the concept of multiplier. The multiplier effect is the effect which happened to equilibrium GDP that had increasement by more than the change in I or autonomous consumption. So changes in autonomous expenditure multiplies through the economy, which means that we have a simple multiplier, which is equal 1 over marginal propensity to save, or 1 over 1 minus marginal propensity to consume. This back to the main concepts of this sections. The actual investment, aggregate income, we must have a great revision for these concepts, even the marginal propensity to consume, marginal propensity to save, a multiplier, investment, and all of these concepts which we have a quick revision about them. Thank you for listening and good luck.